Greetings and salutations, internetizens. This is I, Wolfotech, and here we are with another fun video. This time, Warhammer Starter Set for Age of Sigmar 2nd Edition. Tempest of Souls. I should rephrase that. This is Warhammer Age of Sigmar 2nd Edition Starter Set, Tempest of Souls. And people are like, Warhammer people are going to wander into this and like, hey, that's the previous edition. Yeah, weirdo, and you're playing the wrong Warhammer game. And I'm going to say that I'm starting into both Warhammer 40k and Age of Sigmar. However, I have a huge backlog of stuff, and I just finally made it around to covering this box and its pieces inside of it. You could still buy this online from various retailers. It's still perfectly usable. Everything in Warhammer Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40k is perfectly usable, and it is in fact is cheaper than many other hobbies, with the exclusion of tabletop role-playing games, because Magic the Gathering is more play-to-win than any Warhammer game there is. It is. It's just simple fact. But anyways, you can buy Warhammer models from 5 or 6 years ago, dirt cheap, from other people. Or you can buy 7th edition 40k Warhammer models or 8th edition Warhammer 40k models. You can paint them, you could use them for the next, say 10, 15, 20 years. You're perfectly fine. Magic the Gathering, if you're not constantly buying cards all the time, the meta moves past you and you're screwed because you have to reinvest in a whole bunch of new cards. Okay? So there. But anyways, this is a delightful box. There's a ton of stuff in here. These are largely consistent of what you get in this box right here. And this is a beautiful display. That platform right there is actually the box inside the box, or the tray. You slide out. And these are basically all the miniatures or models that you get in this box. And $60 for instant game is awesome. But anyways, let's open this box up. This is an actually unboxing boxing. Due to the fact that this is... I'm new to Warhammer. I'm fairly new to Warhammer. I followed the lore for decades now. And I have been following various YouTubers and channels on Warhammer for a long time as well. And it's one of those things I just finally really said, screw it, I'm getting into Warhammer. But anyways, I'm going to sit on my leg. This is what you get inside the box. This is actually rather nice. These are your sprues. The gold ones happen to be Stormcast Eternals, which is the basic universal army that they default to whenever they start a new edition. And then these green ones happen to be Nighthaunt, which was the opposing faction in Warhammer Age of Sigmar 2nd edition. But you can still play these. These are perfectly fine. You get a big sprue and a half sprue. I refer to it as a half sprue because it's half the size of a big sprue. You get all these fun little pieces. You can assemble these guys and then paint them and play them. However, there is a large community of Warhammer fans who like to take these guys and they will say, cut out a sword. That one's actually damaged. Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that. Good thing I'm experienced with traditional media. I literally have basically college credits. It's in traditional media. But anyways, you have these fun guys here, and people will sometimes remove weapons or heads or various body parts and then modify by attaching new weapons or items or arranging the head or turning it or something like that. And that's perfectly fine in Warhammer. You can rearrange and have fun with all kinds of stuff all you want. And to an extent, it's perfectly fine in tournaments where you can like take your figure and you can like 3D print little extra components to attach to the base or add little details to them. Games Workshop kind of really wants you to buy their product because that's how they make money. Okay? And that's how they stay in business. And that's how they afford or to pay people's salaries and give them benefits and stuff like that. And invest in new stuff. Okay? So there. You have this delightful range of pieces. And as I said, you got maces, you got swords, you got a candlestick abra or a candlestick shaft here. This gets removed here. That's looks like it's a head right there. Pins into a body, probably like a body like that. You got a face with a really spiky kanobo or a club with spikes. So that's delightful. Then there's this big one. You got a beautiful range of pieces in here. It takes a lot of computer programming and talented people to arrange all these pieces on a sprue in an efficient manner that wastes as little sprue plastic as possible and gets you the most material. A glaive wraith harrier in action to stab someone. So that's absolutely delightful. A lot of people will also take these sprues once they remove all the figures from them and paint them up. They will cut these sprues down into like bricks to build walls or add objects to the base plates of their characters. Perfectly fine, perfectly within rules in Warhammer. You can modify and tweak everything to the degree in which people are still capable of telling, like, hey, that is a glaive, that is a Night Evocator, that is a Chaos Spawn, that is a Adeptus Mechanicus unit of such and such order, or it's a Necron warrior. As long as people can tell what you have and what you're using, you're good. And substitutions are okay outside of tournament scenes, but inside tournament scenes, it depends on the tournament rules. These are the bases. These are absolutely delightful. We've got a variety of sizes and bases. You have to make sure to match the correct base to the right miniature, because your bases are going to determine your movement rate and how many targets you can hit with your attacks in range, because you measure off the base to your target. So if you set your base down and you measure out from your base, from the outside edge of your base to your outside edge of your target's base, that is the range in which your weapon can reach to strike stuff. So if you can move your character in closer or adjust them so you can get your base in between one or more bases, you can attack past with your second line through your front line and stuff like that. So bases are very useful. Being aware of how your base size is going to play into your combat is going to be helpful. You got a set of 6 dice in here. I actually have a set of dice already. I've already done a review for these dice. I rolled them out and showed them off and did all kinds of fun stuff. They're my Chessex. And then we go on to the Stormcast Eternals. And the Stormcast Eternals are basically fantasy space marines. And you have a giant ballista cannon right here with the various parts, a shield, various bodies. Just trying to catch them just right. These are beautiful. Beautiful sculpts. Incredibly good detail. So they put their money into trying to make stuff as good as possible within reason. You got a crest comb for a plume for a helmet or armor. It's just beautiful. You got that big sprue and you got this little smaller sprue with more weapons on it and shields, and they're designed to snap together. Some of these boxes are designed to be snap together design, where all you have to do is just take them apart, clip off the little attachments to the sprue. You trim off the little nubs off the sprue, and you just have to clip them together, and they snap and they're good. While other boxes will have to require like plastic glue or something like that. This is actually a large base. So this actually would have been a great example of proper measurement of your base to your opponent. And then you got a little sheet in here showing off some of the stuff in the product line. And because they're not going to just give you a bunch of miniatures or models without giving you some stuff to play with them, they got you a game mat that's in here that I've actually showed off already. That's in the same box as the Storm Strike. I do believe this is the same game mat as out of the Storm Strike. It definitely looks like it. So, and it's two-sided too, so you got two sides, and it is indeed the same one that's out of the Storm Strike. So if you got both the Storm Strike and this one, you got two of them now, and you can set them next to each other, and you can use one side for one half of the battlefield and the other side on the other half, and you could keep scaling it up to make mega battlefields, so you can have some mega fun. And then there's also some eagles in Warhammer Age of Sigmar that are on the side of Stormcast Eternals, so you can have giant eagles. So you can have a mega battlefield for mega fun with mega eagles in your very, very crazy wargame. Then there's this booklet. There's actually two books in here. There is the basic rule book here for Tempest of Souls campaign and rules. And then they also have a painting guide book in here, as well as some war scrolls for the two armies, plus some extra ones as a demonstration of their good love and faith for you. There's actually three books in here, sorry. But anyways, I'm going to start with the War Scroll cards. You got these delightful War Scroll cards, where you have the Lord Executioner for Nighthaunt, And then you have the stats on the back of the card. In the top corner, you see this wheel. That is your basic stats, your save, your movement, your leadership, and wounds. Your save is basically the magical line. If you roll under that number, you bad things happen typically. And you roll over that number, good things happen typically. You got your bravery, which is nice thing about undead creatures is they have bravery 10. They pretty much don't care whether you're attacking them or not. They just keep doing their thing. You got 5 wounds, so you can basically take 5 hits or 5 damage before you drop. You have movement of 6 inches, which means when you're playing this guy, he can move. Demonstration time. You see the wheel, you see the measurement stick. You measure from the end of the stick all the way to here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you move from here to here, if I'm correct. Keep in mind I'm a noob. But you have Lord Executioner, and then you have the Grimghast Reapers, and also going in back onto the backside of the card, there is the basic flavor text of what the name, basic flavor text, their stats for their actions. So when they attack, they do X damage. They got the slasher sight. They got a range of 2 inches. So if he is standing back here, and you have a figure in here and a figure in here, inside the 2-inch zone, you can attack past or through or around the figure in front and reach back and attack the second one if it's within the 2 inches range. If you only have 1 inch and the base is inside. Basic principles. So in other words, you got these teeny tiny bases, and you got these slightly bigger bases, and you got even bigger bases. And how this plays out is if the base fits inside, you see I got 2 bases, and then there's this big base right here. You can attack this guy, you can attack this guy. However, if you have only 1 inch, and I set the big base in here, you can only attack the guy with the big base. Because you can't, if you only have like 1 inch range, you can only reach the 1 inch, this big base. Or if you have a 2 inch reach on the little guy, you can only still hit the big base one, but you can't hit the guy behind him because he's outside your 2 inch range. So there you go. Little fun demonstration from a noob. But anyways, you got 2 inch range on your attack. You actually got 2 inch range on both different versions of the weapon. You have 1 to 2 attacks. So in a turn, when you attack, depending on the weapon you have, you can either attack once or twice. Your 2 hit, which means if you roll 4 or better, or 4 plus or better, you hit. 2 wound, you roll again, and if you get a 3 plus or better, you wound. You got a -1 rend, which basically lowers their armor score down by 1, making it easier for you to actually adds, weirdly enough. And then you have damage, which is a 1 or a 2. So you can either do 1 damage or 2 damage for each hit, depending on the weapon you have. So there you go. You got these handy dandy cards that are handy dandy for learning. You got Grim Wraith Stalkers, Glaive Wraith Stalkers, Chain Rasp Horde, beautiful artwork yet again. At the very bottom of this card, up past the abilities, there's also a keyword section that ties into what abilities can affect them. Myanmar Banshees, Dreadblade Harrow card. You got the Night Invocator for the Stormcast Eternals. You got Evocators. You got a Sequitur, or Sequiturs. You got Castigators. You got a Celesta Ballista. And then you got these special double cards, or double war scroll, where they fold open and you have information that continues onto a second sheet, along with extra artwork on the back side of one sheet and the regular front. Then on to the next section. There's three more books here. I'm going to get the big book out first. The big book, it's just like the other book, the Stormstrike book. It is actually 97 pages. The Stormstrike book is 81 pages. This is 97 pages. This is more pages than Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Spelljammer books. Okay, there's 3 books in the slipcase, and they're each 64 pages each. This is a bigger book than any one of those 3 books. You got a beautiful cover of a battle. You got more beautiful artwork of Stormcast Eternals versus Nighthaunt. It goes through the table of contents and the credits, and you got a beautiful scene. And this book is largely the same as I can see from right now. It's largely the same as the brain fart as the Stormstrike book. However, there is a few extra things that are included in here, simply just because it's 97 pages instead of 81 pages. You got Nagash, the god of the dead. You got a painting section, which covers over the painting, various techniques of painting. I actually talked about that in the previous video. So it gives you advice on how to paint your Stormcast and your Nighthaunts, as well as it shows off. Oh, the extra pages I just figured out is actually them giving you demonstration tips on how to paint the models that are in this set that are not in the other set. Both the Stormstrike and the Tempest of Souls sets have same models, except the Tempest of Souls has a few more different models added into her. So you have a small set, which only has like 2 types of models for each side, and maybe a third one. And then you have the next set bigger, which has another 2 types of models, and maybe another one on top of that. So it's basically a doubling effect of different sets of types of models in it. So, yeah. You got Sequitur painting tips. You got a Sequitur section, a Castigator section. You got Glaive Wraith Stalker, Grimghast Reaper section. You got beautiful scenes and more characters with more detail. You got a section on battle plans, how to play the game. And it just keeps going and going and going. So you basically get the core rules in this book. It explains to you how to move in to combat and rules of how your models can attack and not attack. So there you go. It just keeps going. It also has more battle plans, pictures of various boxes. The easy build boxes right here, which are the snap togethers, just like this one. You got some lore in here to get you into the world or worlds. A basic map of the planes. A bit of faction overview for Stormcast Eternals and Nighthaunt. You got the Heavenly Host section here, describing the different variants of subsections of Stormcast Eternals. It just keeps going on and on. Explains the lore behind each type of model. Got a section on Nighthaunt. They're basically like the last guys in the book. So there you go. That's a scary ass mount, by the way. But anyways, you got a core rules book, which basically goes over more specifics of how to play. So it explains terminology in which they use in the system. It goes through the specific phases of the game. Like you have your battle rounds, you have the hero phase, the movement phase, the shooting phase, the charge phase, combat phase, and battle shock phase. The battle shock phase is also called the morale phase in some other systems, which then means basically depending on how many characters you have lost in combat, you might lose more. Got a nice little explanation of terrain and the effect it has on combat. You got battle plans for setting up your sides. You got instructions on how to read the war scrolls and what each section means. You got a section on war scroll battalions and realms of battle. You got allegiance abilities, say like your Grand Alliance Order, or Grand Alliance Death, or Grand Alliance Chaos, or Grand Alliance Destruction. You have different sets of abilities that you can use when you choose to go with the Grand Alliance setup. There's actually many more layers to it than that, but that's the simplest end of that. I leave it to the more experienced YouTubers to explain to deeper detail than that. This is the painting and construction rules, not rules, instructions. It shows you off what you have in the box, here and here. And on the back side, it shows you off some of the models and the paints associated with those models. However, the general rule is you can change up the painting of those models however you wish, as long as people understand what they're looking at. So if you put like a big blob of moss down on the table, well, there's a Stormcast castigator inside that blob of moss, and it's just a stick or something, people are probably going to be a little off because they put a whole ton of time into assembling their models and making it nice, as opposed to you taking a stick and setting it on a table with a bunch of moss on it and saying it's something, okay? However, that'd be a hilarious troll. You got a picture of all the sprues, lettered, numbered out, the transfer sheet, some of the models down here, and the instructions on how to assemble them all, plus the standard color arrangement for those models. However, as I said before, that is not mandatory. You do not have to follow that. It's just their suggestion. Hey, this is just canon. And canon is however flexible as you want it to be. More instructions on how to assemble Stormcast models. And then you go from Stormcast and their Castigator Ballista down here to Nighthaunt, and it continues through the Nighthaunt, showing off each model. You know, the Lord Executioner, the Glaive Wraith Stalkers, the Grimghast Reapers, the Chainras Horde, and a section on the back of the painting of all the models and the colors associated with it. So there you go. As I said before, I am on the paintings. Okay, I am a casual fan of many of a decade plus of Warhammer. A experienced painter. I literally have college credits for painting and sculpture, just traditional media, not digital, so neat. But I am new to buying, assembling, and playing Warhammer. So I am not going to give any scores to this because my level of experience with something like a war game is so low, I don't even want to put points into a scoring system for it because I don't have enough depth to understand exactly how good a box is compared to another box. I understand tabletop role-playing games and video games more, but this is new to me. So there you go. I say this is actually a really neat box, but you're going to have to go to like other channels to discover, hey, if this is really what you want. I just showed you off what you got in this box. You can go ahead and look up like the Arena of Shades box for 3rd edition for Nighthaunt and their Vanguard boxes to see if Nighthaunt is your thing. Or you can go and look up the go and get the 3rd edition starter boxes, which I do happen to have. And check those out for the models, those of Stormcast Eternals. When it comes to Warhammer 40k Age of Sigmar, the cheapest route is always go with the starter boxes. First and foremost, the Battle Force boxes that come out each Christmas. You want to save up some. You want to save up yourself some $200, $300. Wait for Christmas and see if your army that you want to play is getting a Battle Force box, and if that is so, you get that Battle Force box, and that's a good thing. And then there's various other starter boxes, sort of verse boxes where 2 factions fight each other. That is also a great option if you're buying individual models, or a small company or a group of models. That's when it gets expensive. So to save money, avoid buying individual models unless you're buying old models from older editions and reusing them for newer editions, which is perfectly fine depending on whether that newer edition has the rules for that model. Yet again, you can, if you're playing like Necrons and Warhammer 40k, you can use 7th edition models. You can use 8th edition models in your 9th edition game. There's no problem with doing that. You're not going to get in trouble for doing that. Alright? So, thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and tell me so in the comments. And consider subscribing. And have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful week, and a magnificent month. And see you next time.